Hello, it is July 1st, a hot 99 degrees today in Pennsylvania. Thought I'd do a garden plot update video. This is the outside of my plot, my flower bed. As you can see, the daisies are blooming. The bee balm is blooming, which the bees are loving. Some other perennials, and my echinacea wildberry is blooming. Got some honeysuckle ready to start blooming. So that's the front flower bed. Could use some weeding. Let's go inside. The weather's been so up and down and life's been busy, so I have lots of weeding to do, but it's not too bad. This is my first bed. I'll be taking out my garlic probably on Wednesday, on July 4th. It's ready to come out. The carrots and the beets, spring onions, they're all doing good. Cabbages are starting to form heads. Savoy, purple Savoy, and that variety is called Bravo. They're all doing well. Here's the kohlrabi, purple and green. I never did get a chance to thin it out. Some of them are starting to bulb up, so I'm going to let it go and see how it goes. My zinnias are starting to bloom. The rue is still blooming. There's the zinnias. And then here's my 4 dwarf varieties I have in buckets along the fence. My dwarf varieties are struggling this year down at the garden. They have tomatoes on them, but the plants really aren't that big. Here's the little front bed where I have some annuals and perennials. And in the front I have some Swiss chard. Swiss chard is doing great. I need to start picking it. I love this peppermint variety. Some tiger lilies are blooming. And over here is my red yarrow. I love this red yarrow. So that's the front. First bed, go alongside the back of it. I have the 8 dwarf varieties growing. Some of them are loaded with tomatoes. But again, the plants are small this year. Don't know why. They're usually much bigger than this. This, I think, is my favorite plant this year, which is a anthostriped dwarf. I mean, the plant is little, but it's loaded with all these anths and striped tomatoes. I can't wait to try one. So that's all in bed 1, volunteer sunflower. Then in bed 2, still got some garlic on the end that will also be coming out on Wednesday. I noticed my onions are starting to bulb up nicely. These are Walla Walla onions. I'm happy with them. And my 9 pepper plants are doing good. 9 different varieties. Starting to produce some peppers. A little guy there. Around the other side I can show you some others. And my row of zinnias dividing the peppers into tomatoes. They're starting to bloom. Beautiful. And here's some of my tomatoes. I have 10 varieties here. I'll show you some up close. This is called Sergeant Peppers. It's a heart-shaped tomato. This is, gotta get the leaves out of the way, Xanadu Green Goddess. Some of the others go around the other side. Peas are starting to slow down. These are my snow peas. I've gotten quite a few pickings off of the vines, but they are starting to yellow and die off. This variety's holding on strong though. Go around the other side of bed 2. On this side I have white and red onions growing, and they're starting to bulb up. Like I said, I gotta do some weeding. There's the other side of the pepper bed. This is candy cane red. Little plant, variegated leaves, lots of peppers. I can't wait to try them. But it's a little plant so far. No other peppers. Another one of those beautiful zinnias. And this is the other side of the tomato bed. I have 5 other varieties. Here's another pretty variety called Lacadero. Some others. This one here with the variegated leaves is called Moonlight Mile. It's still segregating. Struggling to grow though. Still tiny, but I'm hoping it will take off soon. My grow bags with my potatoes are still hanging on. Probably be harvesting them shortly, within another week or so. Now bed 3. My dahlia is doing good in the corner. I got some more peppers here that I planted later than the others. They're starting to grow. You can see my joker lettuce bolted. I didn't get to it in time. I don't have luck with lettuce for some reason. Spring lettuce is not successful. It gets way too hot way too soon. Here's some leaf lettuce that I had growing in between the broccoli. Unfortunately, my amazing broccoli I showed in my last video only was able to harvest 3 heads because unfortunately, before I got to pick the other heads, the heat got to them. So I ripped them all out. I will be planting some bush beans in this area after I harvest this lettuce. And there's some green onions amongst the weeds. This is a determinate variety I mentioned in the last video called Melon Ball. Super productive so far. Can't wait to try those. And here's the row of cherry tomatoes. I've got Elma Blue, which has fuzzy leaves. And this one is Evil Olive. The next cage I have Napa Rose, which is starting to produce tomatoes. And, Brad's Atomic Grape. They're starting to produce. The next cage I have Pomodoro Fragola, which is from Sicily. Let's see if I can get in there. You can see their cute little wrinkly berry-shaped tomatoes. And then in the front is Blue Keys, which is a pear-shaped cherry tomato with anthosin. Doing great. Bed 4. Cosmos are coming up, starting to bloom. Hot peppers are doing good. Still small, but they're growing. I have 3 different varieties. Got some tomatoes here along the front. A pepper plant, and then behind the tomatoes are some summer squash and zucchini. I finally got those in. One's a yellow variety and one's a green striped variety. Volunteer sunflower. Canna lilies are coming up. And this is the cucumber bed. Finally got that planted. 3 varieties. They're all still seedlings, just coming up. Planted some nasturtiums, variegated nasturtiums. And on the end is where I have my calendula and my grass peas. The grass peas are starting to die off. Show you what the pods look like. They're very little. There's like maybe 2-3 peas in each pod. This one looks like there'll be 4, but they're starting to die off. But in the front of them are the beautiful calendula. They're finally blooming. They just started blooming the other day. So glad I planted these this year. Look at that beautiful orange, yellow. It's very medicinal from what I hear and read. Excuse me, red. So I will be saving the blossoms. They say the more you pick them, the more they bloom. So I'm looking forward to that. Other side of the cucumber bed, another variegated nasturtium. And then I have 2 more tomato plants on this side. My overwintered sage. And then again, there's the cosmos and the hot peppers. Now bed 5, I'm very proud of myself in this heat today. I finally weeded and cleaned it out. So it is a clear bed. In each corner I did plant a different variety of winter squash. I have sweet dumpling in this corner. Over in that corner I have sucrine dewberry, which is like a butternut. Down in the other two corners I have a type of spaghetti squash called Trivoli, and in the back corner a winter squash called Gouda. And then in this open area I'm going to be putting down the middle of the bed some poles, and I'm going to grow my pole beans. This is the latest I've ever put my pole beans in. I'm really behind this year. So I'm going to spread out the rest of the straw in this bed and get them planted this week. So bed 5 is finally cleaned up. It seems like every year this bed is the last to be planted. So again, bed 4. This is bed 3. These are the sugar snap peas on the end of bed 3. As you can see, they're starting to die off. I'll be ripping those out this week after I harvest whatever's on it. And then planting some pole beans up this trellis. They did really well. This is bed 2 again with the peppers and the tomatoes. And this is bed 1. This was what I called my spring bed. This is where all the carrots, the beets, the green onions, the cabbage, the kohlrabi are in. So that is my garden plot July 1st. And you can see a male sparrow sitting over here on my tomato cage yelling at me. Because up in that birdhouse there are some babies. I love the wildlife down here. Just a quick scan through. Alright, till next month.